This video is the other side or the flip side of when you want your parents to hear your pain from your childhood. Now, what happens as a parent when your child doesn't want to open up and tell you about that pain? What is it that you can do? Short answer is to love them anyway and to communicate in some form or fashion, not repeatedly to where you become annoying and you push them away, but allowing them to understand that even if they're not ready to open up about their experiences, their pain, that you are always willing to hear it, whether it's the next day or 6 years down the line. That way, if life happens to them and they become a little bit more sensitive or empathetic, or they decide, you know what, maybe it's time for me to let this go and I'm ready to talk, that they feel that they can come to you. And you may be thinking to yourself, well, their childhood couldn't have been that bad. Like, they don't want to talk to me at all about it, and you may start like stirring in that and really kind of getting anxious about that. Remember, your perception is going to be different for them. So even if you think it's something like, well, yeah, I mean, I did spank them and, I did yell, or I was there, but were you there for them physically and emotionally? And I was just having this conversation with someone today where I was like, I'm learning even as a mom who has two boys that a lot of the boys are very emotional and they need to hold that emotional space or have it held for them. And so even if you're a mom but you're shutting down your boys' emotions, telling them to stop crying, they begin to shut down and they begin to get really hard and detached. So by the time that they're a grown adult, they really don't have no empathy and they really don't want to talk about it. They've been so hard and they've had to be strong and kind of pacify themselves. So don't think and try to belittle what they could be thinking in their mind. Just honor that they probably have some things that are really bothering them, even if in your eyes it's not a big deal. Now, if you have a child that is a narcissist, I don't want to say you can forget it, them ever coming to you, but there's a big chance because there's a lot of different traits of a narcissist, and I'm going to read them here for you. But one of the biggest things is that they lack empathy. So they don't care what you had to go through and how hard it was. They're not going to want to hear your explanation. They're not going to want to hear you're sorry. They felt what they felt and they want to hold that. And that's also going to be something that they're going to continue to use against you or try to blame you for and not take responsibility, even as a grown adult. And if this is the case, as painful as this is, you will have to position yourself in a way that you can still love them, but not engage in that victimhood mentality. Because I will always say, no matter what happens to you in your past, you can't go back and change it. So what you could do is decide what you're going to do with it now. Are you going to leave it? Are you going to transmute it and try to do something better for yourself moving forward? You have options and you have choices. And you may have to choose to go no contact or distance yourself because you don't want to constantly be reminded of what you did, but then you also don't want the blame to be constantly put on you for what you did because, your child is blaming you for something that happened when they're 10 years old and you've done better and you've made strides and you're even willing to open up and communicate with them and they're still not having it. That's the signs of a narcissist, and they may never hear you. Now, if they decide that they want to get a third-party perspective, they're going to therapy because maybe over time as they mature, they realize like they want to be able to hear your side, but they're struggling. That's kind of good. That's hopeful. But a narcissist is going to be a narcissist. And I'm going to be referring to the DSM-5, which is if you have at least 5 of these, you are considered a narcissist. And this is from Diagnostics and State of Mental Disorders. So if a person has a grandiose of self-importance, they could be a narcissist. Preoccupation with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. Belief that he or she is special and unique and only can be understood by or should associate with other special or high status people and institutions. Need for excessive admiration. Sense of entitlement. Interpersonal exploitive behavior. Manipulates others. Lack of empathy. Envy of others or beliefs that others envy him or her. Demonstration of arrogant and haughty behaviors. No patience, constant overtone of impatience, gatekeeper of all relationships, in parentheses, who you should and shouldn't talk to, excuse me, chameleon engagement, floating values and opinions depending on who they are trying to get, wait, floating values and opinions depending on who they are trying to get something from, hijacks conversation, self-delusional, unable to learn from others and all-knowing, splitting, love or hate, friend or enemy, wonderful or stupid, nothing in between. And I believe inflated ego and pathological self-absorbed. These are signs of narcissist or narcissism, and these are good to know because people just say the word like it's just nothing, and they don't even understand what they're saying. So, if you have a child that's like that, you can best believe that it's going to be very hard to have a relationship with them in their adulthood unless they decide to change. But a lot of times narcissists are kind of pretty much locked in into who they are, and of course it's hard because that's your child, but there's not too much you can do except for love on the other children that you do have that are not narcissists, that are really open and ready to have those conversations about their childhood so you can make amends, you can hear each other's point of view and move forward. Or if you don't have any other children and you only have one, you can start doing other stuff, still live your life. And like I said, just remain open if you decide to. And if that conversation does happen and they start being really like any of these things that I read in this list, you don't have to stay around for that. You can just say, you know what, I'm not really liking where this conversation is going, and I'm going to hang up now, or I'm going to leave. And then you can fill out where that boundary is or agreement that you want to have with yourself, because even though they're your child and you played a role in potentially any pain that they went through, you don't have to sit there and constantly be verbally abused by it, because they're not telling you to come up with a resolution. They're telling you to constantly put it in your face and make you pay. And it's like they want to have revenge, and they're sitting in resentment, and that's not going to benefit anybody, because even though they do it, they're not getting anything from it. They're just going in a circle of repeating the same thing over, therefore constantly manifesting that negative energy about what they feel.